surface of the cut around this sleeve is too small. Zirconia material is very rigid material, so the cementation must be perfect.
Hi, welcome back to Uniqa Dental Show, where we discuss interesting cases and new procedures in the field of dentistry. Don't forget to send us your cases so we can view them as well. With us today, as always, is Dr. Yaniv.
Hi.
How are you?
Great, how are you doing?
And how the quarantine is going?
Amazing.
Yeah, you look tanned.
Yeah.
So, what do we have here?
Yeah, well, today we have a provisional bridge that broke down. Yeah, you can see the break point. And we analyzed why it broke down. We changed the prosthetic parts and we fixed the issue why it broke down. Mm-hmm. That is what I want for us to discuss today. And I want to show how we analyzed and what we did in the process of the changing of the parts. What we did eventually is first of all, we had the upper bridge. You can see that we have a 4mm sleeve. Everything was nice. You had the screw channel, but then it broke down in the place of this sleeve. So we saw that the surface of the cut around this sleeve is too small because you have quite large span between the different implants. So we changed the sleeve to a smaller one and we eliminated the screw channel. So the surface cut is much bigger and it can withstand much more forces.
So going a few sentences back, you said that you don't have a screw channel here?
Yeah, I don't have a screw channel at all.
So how does it hold?
It doesn't hold on this sleeve. It just sits on the multi-unit. The vertical forces that you have, they all go straight to the multi-unit.
The bridge will be stable, it won't move?
Yeah, the bridge will be stable. You have enough material to hold it. And because we eliminated the screw channel and made a smaller sleeve, mm-hmm. we managed to remove all the material from the upper part of the bridge. And this part of the bridge is not in deep bite. So the patient doesn't close right on the bridge. It has much less forces that goes on top of the bridge. The vertical forces are smaller and the vertical forces goes right to the multi-unit, right to the implant. So it holds this part of the bridge.
And this is screw retained. Would the bridge break if it was cemented restoration?
In cemented restoration, you would have a different problem. Because first of all, for cemented restoration, you need enough surface, enough height of the abutment. Mm-hmm. You can't switch for 1.5mm abutment. There is no such thing. It won't hold at all because it's all on cement. You have preparation angle. The preparation angle is about 5-10 degrees. You can't just make a 1.5mm abutment and cement the bridge on top of these abutments. It won't hold at all. You need to have some height. In this case, if you have this height, you need to have more material that goes right on top of the abutment. It doesn't change anything. And you don't want to make the finish line above the gingival level because all the residues of the cement will go below the gingival level. It's very hard to clean them up. And cemented version is much harder to make.
How food doesn't get below the bridge in this part if it's not screwed?
Zirconia material is very rigid material. You don't have any movements in the bridge itself. The only movements that you can have is on the vertical forces when you bite on top of the anterior teeth. When you bite on the anterior teeth, this part of the bridge wants to go down. When it goes down, the sleeve sits on top of the multi-unit and it holds the forces of this bridge. Mm-hmm. And we saw eventually in this case that when we switched from 3mm sleeve to 1.5 and without a screw, it didn't break with the provisional bridge. We made a zirconia bridge, didn't broke down also, and it holds for a year and a half at least in the mouth, withstanding all the pressure, all the forces that goes on top of these implants and these sleeves.
Okay, so let's see what we have next.
Yeah. In here you can see all the types of sleeves that we have for these types of multi-units. We have different types of sleeves, and each type of sleeve has its own function. For example, the 4mm sleeve is the standard type of sleeve that we use in most of the cases, like 95% of the cases. It has enough height for the cementation, and it's small enough so you can make a crown on top of it.
Okay.
The 3mm is a little bit shorter, so you still can make a crown and you have a little less cementation. It still will hold, but because it's quite small, you can't make the screw to float inside the sleeve like we're doing in the 4mm sleeves. The 1.5mm sleeve is for the most extreme cases. First of all, you can screw it, but all of the screw will be in the restoration material, in the zirconia or in the metal of the PFM bridge. The screw won't be in the sleeve at all, and you'll have very minimal surface for the cementation. So the cementation must be perfect. You need to have macro retention, micro retention. You need to use the strongest cement as possible. And the 6mm sleeves is for when you have very high crowns and you want the momentum on the crown to not to break the cement, so you use very high sleeves. You're almost not using them at all, but still it's possible to use them.
So why to produce and why just not, when you need one, you just take the 3mm or cut it?
It's possible to take even the 6mm and cut it into 1.5. The base of the sleeve is the same, exactly the same. But if you go back to this slide, you can see that in this case, we had a library where in the library we had 3mm, we have the 4 and 6 and 1.5, all these types of sleeves. So if you made a bridge with, for example, 4mm sleeve, and you want to change it to 1.5, you can just, with 2 clicks and a little bit adjustments, you can change. You don't need to do everything from the beginning. If you want to do the same with sleeve cutting, first of all, you need to scan the sleeves. If you scan the sleeves, you need to make all the work from the start. There is a possibility to make like steps, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, to be able to cut the sleeve according to the line that you want, but then you have problems fitting the sleeve. You will cut more than you need and you'll have a space between the crown and the sleeve itself. So this way the sleeve fits the best, and you don't need to do any excessive work to change from 2 types of sleeves. You can just change from one library to the other with 2 clicks and adjust a little bit the bridge. You can see that we took down a little bit of material from here, make it smooth there. All the work is the same. It's very easy to change from one sleeve to another, and you don't need to make everything from the start. Making everything from the start for these types of cases can take hour, 2, 3 hours.
So the 1.5mm is the smallest, but it's really small. Will it hold the same as the 3mm? Like, is it the same?
Yeah, it will hold because we're not just cementing the sleeve to the bridge. We're making micro and macro retention. You'll see 2 slides below that. First of all, you can see here the bridge itself. You can see that in the bridge you don't have a screw channel. You have very small area for the cementation. And you can see you have like undercuts inside the bridge. We just take a burr. If it's a PMMA material, you mill in the PMMA. If it's zirconia, you can make these undercuts before the sintering process.
The machine itself makes it?
No, you just take a burr.
By hand?
With your hand, and just make some small micro retentions.
The machine cannot produce already with burrs?
To produce it in the CNC machine in the CAD/CAM process is very, very difficult. Not every machine can do it, and you need different strategies. From my experience, the best thing is just in 5 minutes do it yourself. You take a small burr, you do some micro retentions, You don't have any problems in the milling part of the bridge because everything else goes like standard. The end result of these micro retentions, you can see here, it's like small undercuts for the sleeves. We do it for all the sleeves, not just 1.5 millimeter. We do it for the 3, 4, and 6. You have much better retention for these ones. Then when you cement the sleeve, the cement or the glue, depends what you use, goes into these undercuts and holds the sleeve. In the sleeve you have undercuts, the cement holds with these undercuts. And in here you have different types of undercuts, so the cement can hold much better the sleeve.
So you recommend doing undercuts in every cemented restoration?
I recommend doing undercuts in every screw retain restoration when you're cementing the sleeve. In cementing restoration, it's the worst thing you can do, doing undercuts. Because when you're doing cemented restoration, you have a bridge. You cement the bridge on temporary cement because the angulation of the preparation is almost parallel. It's very hard to take off the crowns. So if you make undercuts in the bridge, it will be almost impossible to remove the crowns from the abutments. And one of the biggest problems in cemented restorations is when you need to remove the crowns. You need to break the cement. And if the cement has bigger undercuts, the cement holds much better the crowns. It's almost impossible would be to release the crowns without breaking them.
What about permanent cemented restoration?
There is almost no such thing as permanent cemented restoration because you almost always afraid when you use cemented restoration, the time point when you need to remove the cemented restoration. On teeth, yeah, you use permanent cement because there is no screw loosening, there is no any problem. There is almost no reason that you need to take off the bridge. But when you use it on implants, you have a problem because there can be screw loosening, there can be a lot of different problems. When you have a chance for different problems, you have like 5% in 3 years in all of the implants that you have a screw loosening. It's a lot. So you want to be able to remove the crowns. I'll tell you something, even when I make cement crowns on top of on teeth, cement restoration with temporary cement, when I want the patient to go with the crowns to see if the color fits, if everything is as she likes, if she likes everything in those crowns. First of all, I cement them on temporary cement, and I have cases when I'm afraid of removing the crowns. I just send the patient back and tell him to come back in 3-4 months. When the cement
3-4 months?
Yeah, when the cement will lose a little bit by itself. Because I'm just afraid removing the zirconia crowns, I can break them.
Temporary cement lasts that long?
Yeah, temporary cement lasts that long. If it's a good cementation, if you have apical seal, if everything is fine, it would last even much more.
Mm-hmm. I see.
That's why in cemented restoration, you don't need any retentions in the crown. It's the worst thing you can do. You're afraid of these things. You need to be able to remove the crowns. It's much better when the patient can remove the crown and comes with you with a fallen crown than you need to break the bridge and you can't remove the crowns.
Mm-hmm. Which is much more traumatic for the patient also.
Yeah. The patient can come because the screw loosened a bit and there is movement of the crown, and you tell the patient that you need to break the crown and make a new one.
In screw return restoration, you can make undercuts. It's recommended to make undercuts with burr for better cementation.
Yeah.
But in regular cementation, you don't recommend.
Exactly. Because in screw retain, the cementation is permanent. Mm-hmm. You don't want to remove the sleeves from the crowns. Never you want to remove them. You remove them. In regular cementation, you want to remove the crowns if you need to remove them. So here you need the best cementation you can get, and in there you need good cementation, but with the ability to remove them.
Or send the patient back for a couple of years.
A couple of months.
Thank you for being here today.
You're welcome.
And thank you for being with us. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, follow us, and send us your interesting cases so we can review them.